This is Michael Woodward, and this is Season 3, Episode 232 of Jumblethink.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Jumblethink, where we interview amazing entrepreneurs about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, we're going to share some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. Today on the show, we are talking about the power of faith. Whether you're new to Jumblethink or a longtime listener, you can catch up on past episodes simply by going to jumblethink.com. You can also find every episode on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite place to tune in to podcasts. To make it easier, head on over to jumblethink.com/iTunes to check it out on Apple Podcasts or jumblethink.com/Spotify to check it out on Spotify. Now let's jump into today's episode. Hey there, welcome to Jumblethink. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. We have a really fun episode lined up for you today, all about the power of faith. Before we jump in, we want to take a moment and thank the people who make this show possible, our sponsors. Today's show is being sponsored by opportunityinchina.com and Penji. Here's a little bit more about our friends over at Penji. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know we are launching something called Idea Camps. Typically, I would just jump into Photoshop and create all of my own graphics for the event. We wanted a awesome logo design. So instead of doing it on my own, I reached out to our new sponsor, Penji, to ask them if they could design a logo for Idea Camps. Here's what happened next. I signed on to the Penji website. I created a project brief, which basically outlines what I'm looking for. And within 2 days, they had sent back multiple logos. I loved all the logos, but there was one that was perfect for Idea Camps, and we chose to go with that. Now, here's how Penji works. Penji is a monthly subscription service, and you have access to unlimited graphic design for your needs. Meaning if you don't like the design, they'll go back and give you a new design. I was super impressed with what they did, and I can't wait to continue using them for our design needs. If you are looking for a design partner to help your business or yourself create the designs you need for your projects, I recommend Penji. What you need to do is head on over to penji.com and use the code JUMBLE, JUMBLE, to sign up, and you'll get 15% off your first month. So head on over to penji.com and use that code JUMBLE right now. We also want to thank our friends over at opportunityinchina.com. Here is more about them. Have you been looking for a way to change your career or social prospects? Do you see the world around you changing and haven't quite figured out what path you should take? You are not alone in seeking opportunity. Visit opportunityinchina.com for access to scholarships to attend university in China, or if you have a bachelor's degree already, opportunityinchina.com provides access to jobs in the educational sector all across China. Now, working in China is not only often well paid, but it will place you among 1/5 of the world's population, boosting your social network, bringing you more deeply into the story of globalization, and opening up doors you never knew existed. Seize your opportunity now. Visit their website for more information at opportunityinchina.com. Now let's jump into today's episode, all about the power of faith. On today's show, we are talking about the power of faith. This is a continuation of a series we've been running over the last several months called The Power Of. Each of those different topics goes deep into tools, strategies, and philosophies you can apply to your journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality, or if you're an entrepreneur, how you can apply it to the entrepreneurial journey. We talked about the power of perseverance, the power of community, the power of adventure, the power of wonder, the power of boredom. It's been a lot of fun, and the last one's actually kind of interesting because LinkedIn story of the day today is about the power of boredom, and we did the power of boredom in your life for business several months ago. So they are tapping into the same thing we're tapping in and seeing that boredom is a powerful tool. But today's topic is all about the power of faith. There are things that people tell you shouldn't talk about. Faith, politics, money. Those are all topics that are supposed to be taboo, along with, I'm sure, a billion other ones that somebody says that you shouldn't talk about. Faith is polarizing because it can be defined differently for each person and their beliefs. It is ingrained into who we are. Faith often can be defined as a strong belief in God or the doctrine of religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. It can also be defined as complete trust or confidence in someone or something. A trust, a belief, a confidence, a conviction, a credence, a reliance, a dependence. I think it's all of that and more. It is something that is holistic into our lives, whether it's in our families, whether it's in our jobs, whether it's in our communities. Faith is a foundational tool that we use to build a strong, firm foundation on who we are. For me, faith does start at the religious level. I believe in a God that loves me, that created all of us. I believe that he sent his son, and that son died so that we could have atonement for the sins of our lives and be reconnected to God and have that relationship. But for me, faith doesn't just stop in my relationship with God. It also impacts my trust and dependence on others, my family, my friends, my community around me. All of these people impact my faith. Faith in humanity, faith on the goodness of others, the faith on that people will do the right thing when they are called to do the right thing. All of us wrestle with different levels of faith. For some, their faith is rooted in a religious belief, and that gives them the foundation to build everything else from. Others, I have good friends that are not faith-filled people. They are people who don't believe in a God, and for them, faith looks different. All of this will impact how we view the world, how we view our problems, how we view each other. When we are hurt and wounded by the people around us, our faith in them, our faith in humanity begins to deteriorate. So faith is something that's impacted by our beliefs. Faith is something that's impacted by our experiences. Faith is something that's built into us based on who we are. One of my favorite scriptures comes from Psalm 27, and it says, "I would have despaired unless I believed I would see the goodness of God in the land of the living." This is very much faith personified in our lives. Faith is about God, but it's also about us engaging with each other. And so faith is significant for our journey of life. Faith is a foundation that more of us need to wrestle with, whether it's through forgiveness, whether it's through restoration of relationships, whether it's, in my opinion, finding that relationship with God. But faith is a massive tool, a powerful tool for chasing dreams and ideas. Faith is a powerful tool when you're on a journey of entrepreneurship. It is a powerful tool when you are pushing into the unknown and don't know the next step to take or the next direction to go or what's going to happen to you if things fail or succeed. All of that comes back to your understanding of faith. When you have faith, whether it's the faith of your abilities, whether it's the faith of your community, whether it's your faith in God, you can push into those scary places of the unknown. You can take more risk because you know that there are many pieces coming together, working together to make those dreams and ideas a reality. Now, you may be wondering, why in the world would faith matter? Why would this be important for the journey of ideas and dreams? And we're going to go into that much deeper in our second segment about the power of faith. But right now, I want to talk about why faith matters in the broad picture, the broad scope of things. Faith matters for many different reasons. You could probably create a list that is forever long if you really tried. I'm going to give you 5 highlights to my list of why faith matters. First off, it kills fear. And, people go, well, when you have faith, fear disappears. I don't think it actually disappears. I think that when you have faith, you can step into the fear. A good friend of ours, Leonard Kim, who's been on the show, he talks about let your fears guide you into the future and that you should be stepping into those fears. And the only way you can step into fear is to take a step of faith. Take a step into the reality that you don't have all the answers. You don't know everything, and that faith is required to overcome fear. So faith kills fear. It doesn't happen immediately. It is a slow progression, but the more you step into that place of faith, fear begins to die. And I can't explain it, but the more I'm pushed into places where I have to trust, whether it's God or the people around me, depending on the situation, the more peace I actually find, and the more that the fear is vanquished. So the further I exercise this power of faith, the more fear subsides, and the more I'm able to say, you know what? I don't know all the answers. I don't know what the future holds. But what I do know is that I have a faith that defines that fear is not a guiding light, but faith is. It is a powerful, powerful tool to allow faith to kill the fear. Number 2, it gives us hope. When we are faithless, we don't see the world with possibilities. We see the world with failure and despair and brokenness and fear and unknown. But when we step into faith, it gives us new hope. It gives us hope for a future that's better. It gives us hope that we will see the breakthroughs we long for. It gives us a driving force to keep pushing forward, because that hope ignites a passion and a fervor and a place of thriving in our life, even when things aren't great. And faith drives us to that place of hope. It drives us to that place of renewed positivity for where we're going and what we are doing. And so faith is that tool, that power that unlocks hope. Number 3, it aligns us to trust. When we lack trust, we feel like we have to do it on our own. And yes, there is something to be said about trusting our abilities, trusting our skills, trusting our knowledge, trusting what we've experienced. But that only goes so far. You are going to hit a roadblock in which you aren't going to be enough. I've experienced that personally lately, where everything I do is not good enough to bring the next breakthrough. And so I can't simply depend on myself to bring that breakthrough. I have to depend on my friends and family and the people around me. I have to depend on God. And so faith brings us to that place of trust to say, I cannot always measure up to the expectation I need to rise to, but I can have faith that the community around me, that the faith I believe, that the God that I trust is going to be good enough to get me through this season. Number 4, it reminds us of what matters. Faith reminds us of things that are significant. Often in our Western world, we are filled with desire for quick success, desire for money, desire for safety, desire for certainty, the desire for things that on the surface are good, but when we have them, they don't push us into a place of faith, a dependency on something bigger than ourselves. And it reminds us, when we push into faith, when we have to go into that deeper place, it reminds us what matters. You could have $1 billion and life would be unfulfilled. But faith pushes us into the places that go, you know what? I have a great family. I'm passionate about the things I get to do. I'm seeing lives around me impacted by me supporting them and them supporting me and being in this relationship. And so faith pushes us back to the place to remember what is significant, what is powerful, what is important. Number 5, it gives us confidence. When we have faith, we can step into new seasons, even unknown and scary situations, with confidence that things will work out, that things will be better once you get on the other side. It may be a quick journey. It might be pushing into faith for a matter of a couple days or weeks in that confidence, and you see the breakthrough. It may be months or years. I think of people who you hear years and years, they persevered. They had faith through dark, dark seasons when nothing seemed to work, where everything seemed to fall apart. And then one day, all of a sudden, it was quickly happens. And they have their breakthrough. They have their moment where all of a sudden it's like everything that they've held on to for faith that confidence that they stepped into because of faith pays off, and they see the breakthrough. They see the fruition of their dreams and ideas because the faith has driven them to that place of confidence, and that confidence has carried them through the darkest of seasons. Now, those are just 5 of my examples of why faith matters. For you, you may find different reasons why faith is significant. But if you play it safe, if you don't step into the places of the unknown, the places of fear, whether small steps or big steps, you can never get to the place that you were created to go. And I think that this is one of the biggest problems in our society today. We play it safe. We choose the comfortable route. We choose the known route. And in that process, we settle for less than what is possible. We settle for less than what we're called and created to do. We settle for less, and in that we lose ourselves. We lose our passion for life. We lose our passion for others. We lose our fervor for life around us. We lose the drive to continue going on. And there is a great quote that says, "What is the point of living if you're already dead inside?" And that's what happens to so many of us in our culture and in our society, in our belief system, is that we are living lives dead. We're not living for what is significant or important or powerful. We are living for safety, even prosperity. Not that prosperity is a bad thing, but the reality is that often we sell our soul for the mighty dollar. Many times we settle for what is safe. These things will eat inside of us. You want to know why there's so much depression in this world? It's because people aren't living the purpose they were created to live. You want to know why people have lost direction and hope? It's because they don't know who they are and what they're created to do. And so all of these things push us into a place of living a life of faith. Les Brown says this. He says, "Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears." I think that's a powerful sentiment of what's going on in our culture, what's going on in our society. We are living our fears. We're living the lives we are told we are to live. We are accepting the status quo instead of going to something deeper or better. And faith is that tool, that power that helps unlock all of those possibilities of dreams. Some say that faith is the opposite of fear. I know this, that the more you push into places of faith, the more fulfilled you feel, the more certain you are about the direction you're going, and the more willing you are to take the risks that matter to build the life you want to live. So as we wrap up this first segment, I ask this question. Are you living the life you want? Are you living the things you know you're created to do? Are you achieving the things that really matter to you? Or are you settling for something less? Are you settling for what is expected of you? Are you settling for what you're told you should do? Are you expecting and living only for what causes you to survive? In a moment, we're going to be back and talking about how you can find faith around you every day. We're going to talk about how you can build a lifestyle of faith, and I'm going to give you a challenge as we wrap up today's episode to push you further into a place of living a faith-filled life. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at Opportunity in China. Here's a little bit more from Opportunity in China.
At the dawn of the 19th century, forward-thinking people moved to the commercial centers of Europe. Moving into the 20th century, America welcomed millions into the land of freedom and opportunity. It is now the 21st century. Many of the successes and fortunes of our generations will be made in China. To learn how you can seize opportunity in China, follow the Opportunity in China podcast. The Opportunity in China podcast is available anywhere podcasts are streamed, or you can visit our website at opportunityinchina.com.
Today's episode is being sponsored by our friends over at Penji. Make sure to use the code JUMBLE to get 15% off your first month. Here's a little bit more about Penji. Penji helps startups, agencies, and marketing teams achieve more with unlimited graphic design support, at one flat monthly rate. Their easy-to-use online platform pairs you with a professional designer and lets you create as many design projects as you want. Think of it as your monthly subscription to top-notch design. No contracts, no hourly billing, just fast, simple, and affordable graphic design for all of your needs. Simply use the coupon code JUMBLE to get 15% off your first month with Penji. Now let's continue our conversation about faith. We are back and going deeper into this conversation all about faith. All right, so where do we find faith? I can only speak personally and through some of the study I've done. Faith can be found probably in many, many places, but for me, here's where I find it best. It starts off right at the top with God. My relationship with God, my relationship with my faith in Christ is a significant place of finding faith. Without my belief in God, without my belief in the teaching of Scripture, I don't think I would have a foundation of faith whatsoever. Last night I was watching one of my favorite shows, NCIS New Orleans. I'm not a big NCIS guy, but for some reason, the New Orleans one really resonates with me. And they're going through a crazy situation where there's a bunch of bombs going off and just weird, crazy things. In that, one of the characters is like, I just don't know how to make any sense of this. And one of the other characters, she says to the guy wondering about how to bring understanding to a really bad situation, she says, you can't make sense of the chaos. You have to bring order to the chaos. And so many of us are trying to explain everything when it's unexplainable. And the only explanation is but God. That's the only explanation, God. And I think that we as a society have forgotten about the wonder of the unknown because we've written off God because we know better. And so for me, that's why I keep coming to this revelation. Even when I start doubting, when I push back into the unknown, I begin to find God again, and it brings me back to a place of faith in God, faith in knowing that there is something more significant at play, that things will work out because God is a good God, and He will provide amazing things for us if we seek Him. And so for me, this is the foundation of faith. This is the place that I find faith at its core. And then I push out a little bit further. And I referenced that scripture from Psalm 21 that said, I would have despaired unless I believed I would see the goodness of God in the land of the living. The land of the living is the community around us, our family, those people around us. And for many of you listening, you may have pains and wounds from your family. But family is part of that community, and they could have shaken your faith, and shaken your faith in a goodness that didn't exist for you. But there is family there, and sometimes it's biological family, and sometimes it is an adopted family that invites you into their story, into their lives. And so family is an amazing place to reinforce that story of faith. Then you push out a little bit further and you have your friends. These are the people that often know you best, that they've seen you at your highs and they've seen you at your lows, and yet they still accept you. That is the mark of authenticity in friendship, that they stick through you even in your stupidity, even in your success. They are there, and these friends begin to reinforce that place of faith in showing goodness to you and supporting your dreams, supporting your ideas, supporting what you are pushing into. Another place you can find community is in local meetups. You can find them in like-minded people who are searching for answers. That could be a community of faith, a church. It could be a community of people who are interested in a specific hobby, and that hobby reinforces your dream. And so often we find our community in clubs and groups and organizations that we resonate with because they reinforce the things we are passionate about. We can find it in our schools. We can find faith in learning through others, through the teaching of those who know because they've learned those lessons and they can teach it to us. So we can find community and faith in the educational systems around us. Sometimes it's good, sometimes those educational systems are bad, but we can look at that as a source of finding faith, we can find those mentors and coaches and consultants around us that can give us perspective that we don't see, the blind spots we don't see, or tell us and encourage us to keep pushing further when we feel like giving up. And so that becomes a place of community, a place that encourages faith when we don't know what to do or where to go. You can also find it in the social media sphere. This isn't the one that I would recommend most often for finding community, but it is a place that you can find community. You can find it in Facebook groups or by asking questions on Quora or Reddit or Instagram or Twitter. Wherever you connect, you can find a community there. I would caution you to limiting yourself to the surface, though, but going deeper into these places that you find community, forums and other places that you can push into that if that's the community that you find, and you will find faith by the encouragement of that community. And as I said before about clubs and organizations, find people in your space, whether it's in those group settings, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's you go and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to find somebody that's already operating in the space. If you want to be a psychologist, go interview psychologists and find out about their journey. And you may be finding the challenges you're facing are typical for that journey. I think of the story of The Hero's Journey by Campbell. He talks about this journey of faith quite a bit. He calls it the hero's journey, but it's this journey of discovering a dream and an idea in the process of faith. And so check that out. That's another place you can learn about faith. One of my favorite resources is something called The Dream Giver. It's a book by Bruce Wilkinson, and it's another hero's journey type book, and it walks you through that journey of faith and redemption and fear and the unknown and walking through that cycle. It's a great, great story. I would encourage you to push into these places to find faith. Find it in God and in Christ, and find it in faith, communities of faith. Find it in the communities that are outside of those religious organizations. Find it in those coaches and mentors. Find it in other people in the industry. As we transition from this part where we talk about where to find faith, I want to leave you with this quote. It's from Audrey Hepburn. It's very simple, but it's so amazing. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. And if you look at that word, write it down, and you'll find the words, I'm possible. So faith is going to help you push into the impossible to make it possible. We are going to pause here for a moment, and when we come back, we are going to talk about finding your steps to faith. Here at Jumblethink, we are on our own journey of faith with launching idea camps. What are idea camps? Idea camps are 3-day events to help you turn those dreams and ideas into reality. You'll do some networking with other people just like you who have big ideas and dreams. They're influencers, makers. They have amazing dreams and ideas, and they're on that journey too. We're going to teach you some steps and practical tools to turning those dreams and ideas into reality. We're also going to get down into the dirt and do some mastermind groups, talk about your specific dreams and ideas, and give you a roadmap at the end of the event to turn those dreams and ideas into reality. I would love to have you there. If you want to be a part, you need to sign up. And we have our lowest pricing going on right now for Idea Camp, starting as low as $99. So head on over to jumblethink.com/ideacamps. Check it out and learn how Idea Camps can help you go from idea and dream and into making the life of your ideas and dreams. Now let's jump back into today's episode as we talk about steps to finding faith.
Placez votre électrophone à portée de votre main.
We are back to talk about steps to faith, finding faith in your journey. To kick it off, I'm going to give you a quote from the great Garth Brooks. He says, "Stand straight, walk proud, and have a little faith." That seems very simplified. We're going to talk about how to actually do that in this segment as we talk about finding faith and building faith in our lives. So what are the steps to building faith? I hate to tell you there is no shortcut. It is a journey that you have to earn, a badge you have to earn by doing. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what are some steps you can take to build a lifestyle that incorporates faith as a foundation, a power of faith in your life for the entrepreneurial journey, for that journey of chasing dreams and ideas into reality. So here are my steps for finding faith in your journey, how to create a lifestyle of faith in your journey. The first thing I would say is face the fear. Face the unknown, face the situation, face whatever that is that's right ahead of you. Address it and approach it, attack it. Don't let that fear stand in your way. As our friend Leonard Kim, as I mentioned before, says, let fear be a guiding light to where you should go. Face that. Face it head on and deal with it. Number 2, rise above what you see and feel. You may not feel like everything's working out. You may feel like a failure. You may see that all the things you've worked for are falling apart. Rise above what you see and start seeing what is unseen. When you face the unknown, it is unknown. So rise above what you see into a new place where you are above what is really going on. Now, I'm not saying be in denial. I'm saying like see the potential, see what could be, and then begin to live in that place instead of living in the place of what you see and feel. 3, take action. I probably should have put this at the end, but living a life of faith is an action. Faith is an action. It forces you to do something, to be engaged with faith. You cannot do faith without action. I wish you could. I wish it was easy. I wish the process was like, oh yeah, I have faith. And it's just that. No, the more you push into it, the more faith is required of you. It's a funny journey, but the more you step into faith, the more you have it. So it is an action. You have to engage it. You have to do it. You have to be a part of it. Number 4, find joy in the suffering. The journey of faith is not often easy. It is not often simple. It is a journey that is painful and hard to do sometimes. And there's many high highs and many low lows in this journey of faith. So find joy in the suffering. How do you do that? Well, there's lots of ways to do it. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of those nuts and bolts and some of the other points here. But basically, you have to rethink your perspective. You have to choose to look at what you need to look at and don't look at the things you shouldn't. That seems counter to step number 1, which is face the fear, but sometimes it's not about not acknowledging the truth or the fear or the unknown. It's about not making that your focus. You acknowledge it's there, and then you step into the new possibility and you create that. Number 5, I'm going to say it a couple different ways because some of you may not be believers in Christianity or followers of Christ or however you say that. I am. So for me, I pray and seek God a lot, but for others, they would translate that into meditate. I would also say another great way to say this is to stop and reflect. When we are in the journey of life, we want to go, and do. Sometimes the best thing we can do on the journey of faith is to stop and listen, to stop and pray, to stop and reflect, to stop and just be. Step number 6, sleep. I know that sounds silly to why a step for faith is to sleep, but the reality is that faith is much harder when you aren't well rested because your emotions aren't as manageable. So if you are not sleeping, a journey of faith is going to be much more difficult. Just trust me, I know this from personal experience. I know this from other people I've talked to. The more you can sleep during the journey, and I'm not saying oversleep, but I'm saying get that healthy amount of sleep, the more your body recharges, the more your body's able to heal itself because that's when your body's recovering from working out or whatever you're doing. But also it allows your mind to reset and recharge and refill. And so get rest. It is important. Get sleep. Number 7, speak with certainty. Another way of saying this is see the picture that you are creating. Know where you're going, know what you're doing, and speak with certainty. For example, we would say for this podcast would generate our income, that this is where we would build our revenue, for our business. This would be the cornerstone for all of that. There are many people in the podcasting space that say that's impossible, that it can't be done. And yet, I see a handful of podcasters who have done it. So why can't I? It means it's a hard road, it's a lot of work, but that's where we're going, is making this sustainable, that this is a core of our business, along with idea camps, along with speaking. And so many people would say the picture we're painting is impossible. There's 500,000 podcasts. How are you going to stand out and make this a profitable podcast? Well, we're working on that. And we see with certainty that it is possible, it will happen, and it will be the future we create. So we are speaking with certainty that this podcast will become one of the cornerstones of what we are building at Jumblethink. It will build revenue. And many people think that's gutsy, many people think that's impossible, and many people think that's foolish. But the truth is, I'm speaking it even now in certainty. That's the picture we're painting. That's the direction we're going. That is what we're doing. On Tuesday's episode, we are talking to Martin Dugard. He is an author, and we talk about that a lot, that he had to make a decision. Was he a writer? And choose to step into that. It's an exciting interview. Make sure to check that out on Tuesday. But that's what we're talking about. And I'm not saying claim it, the faith movement of like, I see it, so it comes. Like, I'm going to have a jet because I said I'm going to have a jet. What I'm talking about is see the picture and then build that picture. Work hard. Know with certainty. Have a lot of faith it will happen, but do the work to get there. And so, number 7, speak with certainty. Paint the picture. Know where you're going. Know what you're doing and do it. Number 8, celebrate the small victories. We all want the big win. The reality is the small victories are what gets us to the big win. When we're on a journey of faith, we need to hold on to those small victories. I've talked about it a lot on this show, and it is important. It is massively important to celebrate those victories. It may not seem significant, but when you are in the thick of fear and unknown and situations that make no sense, those small victories are massive in changing your outlook on what's happening. So celebrate the small victories. Number 9, don't fear failure, learn from it. Often we run from failure as the end game. When we fail, it's over. The reality is that failure is the greatest stepping stone to success. Those people who have built success in their life have stepped through hundreds, if not thousands or millions of many steps of failure to learn and grow and build what they are doing. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the great tool to getting to those dreams. So face the fear of failure and live in a place of learning from it. That's called faith. It's saying, I didn't get it this time, but next time I will. And I've learned a lot. I've learned what to do and what not to do. So face the fear. That is a step towards faith. Face the fear of failure, that is, and learn from it. Number 10, ask for help. This one's hard for me. I want to be able to do everything on my own. I've run my business both as an agency where I have lots of employees, and I've run my business as a solopreneur working by myself. As much as I would love to say it's easy to be a solopreneur, I actually think it's much harder than running an agency. There are difficulties to having employees or contractors working with you and having a team around you. But the reality is that it is much more joy-filled to have people around you to help. Employees, contractors is just one way to ask for help. You could have a coach, a mentor. Ask for help around your family and friends. There may be someone that's just longing to help you, but isn't willing to do it until you ask for help. So ask for help. They will get you to the place that you are going. So part of the step of faith is addressing the fear of what others will think of you and speak up. Ask for help. Number 11, celebrate others. Don't judge them. When we see the successes of others, it breaks our faith when we begin to judge them, when we hold it against them, when we envy them. So you must celebrate others, celebrate their success, celebrate their wins. I had to deal with this recently. There was a guy who I liked a lot, but for some reason had some weird feelings towards him because of his success in the space that we are building in. And I had to go talk to him and just be like, dude, I am so sorry for judging you. I put my fears in judgment against you. And so that was a hard thing. And I had to ask his forgiveness, and he was very gracious. But you need to celebrate others, celebrate their wins, and others will celebrate your wins with you. So celebrate these together. It builds faith in you. It builds faith in them. It builds faith in the community around you. And finally, step number 12 to living a lifestyle of faith, using that power of faith, stay humble. When you have big wins, when you have big victories, even sometimes when you have small ones, you feel like you are it. You are the best. And the truth is that that's not the truth. You need to stay humble in the journey. Well, that does it for today's episode, all about the power of faith. I hope it's encouraged you on your journey, no matter where you are at, whether it's good times, bad times, or just times of chaos. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, your journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality, I hope it has encouraged you. Once again, we want to thank our friends over at Penji and OpportunityInChina.com for sponsoring today's episode. Penji helps you with on-demand graphic design services at one low monthly fee. They're doing great things. I think you're going to love them. Use the code JUMBLE to get 15% off your first month. We also want to thank Opportunity in China. They're doing great things. If you are looking to learn or teach abroad, you need to go check them out and connect with them. OpportunityInChina.com. And we want to thank you for tuning in and listening to today's episode. We hope that it has encouraged you. Ultimately, we believe you were created for purpose, that you have something to offer this world. So go out there, chase those big ideas and dreams, and change the world around you.
Vous êtes une autre personne. Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.